Curly Howard was born Jerome Lester Horwitz on October 22, 1903 in Brooklyn, New York. Born of Lithuanian Jewish ancestry, he was the youngest of the 5 Horwitz brothers. Because of being the youngest, his brothers called him Babe to tease him. The name Babe stuck with him all his life. He was a quiet child who was an average student. Babe was a good athlete and played on the school basketball team. He didn't graduate from high school, but kept himself busy with odd jobs. He was also an accomplished ballroom dancer and singer and regularly visited the Triangle Ballroom in Brooklyn. Curly was interested in show business and would watch his brothers Moe and Shemp perform as Stooges in Ted Healy's vaudeville act. Always a ladies' man, he was married 3 times. Curly's first showbiz break was as a comedy musical conductor in 1928 for the Orville Knapp Band. Though Curly enjoyed the gig, he watched his older brothers Moe and Shemp and partner Larry Fine make it big as some of Ted Healy's Stooges. Vaudeville star Ted Healy had a very popular stage act in which he would try to tell jokes or sing only to have the Stooges wander on the stage and interrupt or heckle him. Shemp, however, disliked Healy's bad temper and heavy drinking. In 1932, Shemp was offered a contract at the Vaudevillian Studios in Brooklyn and left the group. With Shemp gone, Moe suggested that Babe fill the role of the third Stooge, but Healy didn't like Babe's look, complaining that he didn't look funny. When he shaved his head, Healy quipped, "Boy, don't you look girly." Moe misheard the joke as Curly. His stage name naturally became then Curly. In 1934, Healy left the group to pursue a solo movie career. They renamed the act the Three Stooges. That same year, they signed on with Columbia Pictures. The Stooges soon became the most popular short subject performers in the history of film, turning themselves into comedy legends over the many years. By 1944, Curly's energy began to wane. He checked himself into the hospital in early 1945 and was diagnosed with extreme high blood pressure, a retinal hemorrhage, and obesity. His health forced him to rest, and he lost a considerable amount of weight. Half-Wit's Holiday would be Curly's final appearance as an official member of the Stooges. During filming in May of 1946, Curly suffered a severe stroke while sitting in director Jules White's chair, waiting to film the last scene of the day. When Curly was called by the assistant director to take the stage, he did not answer. Moe went looking for his brother, and he found Curly with his head dropped to his chest. Moe later recalled that his mouth was distorted and he was unable to speak, only cry. Curly was rushed to the hospital, where Moe joined him after the filming. Curly spent several weeks in the hospital before returning home. After Curly's stroke, Shemp agreed to replace him in the Columbia shorts, but only until his brother was well enough to rejoin the act. Curly partially recovered and, with his hair regrown, made a brief cameo appearance as a train passenger barking in his sleep, "Hold that line," in 1947. And it was the only film that featured Larry Fine and all 3 Howard brothers, Moe, Shemp, and Curly, at the same time. Still not fully recovered from his stroke, Curly met Valerie Newman and married her on July 31, 1947. Although his health continued to decline after their marriage, Valerie gave birth to a daughter, Janie, in 1948. In the post-stroke days, Curly enjoyed playing gin rummy and watching the Hollywood Stars, a local basketball team. He and Valerie had a swimming pool installed at their home so Curly could use it for physical therapy. A dog lover, he enjoyed playing with his pets, a collie named Lady and 2 other pups named Salty and Shorty. Later that year, Curly suffered another stroke, which left him partially paralyzed. He was using a wheelchair by 1950 and fed boiled rice and apples as part of his diet to reduce his weight and blood pressure. Valerie admitted him into the Motion Picture Country Home and Hospital in August of 1950. He was released after several months of treatment and medical tests. In February 1951, he was placed in a nursing home, where he suffered yet another stroke a month later. In April, he went to live at the North Hollywood Hospital and Sanitarium. In December, the North Hollywood Hospital and Sanitarium supervisor called and advised the Howard family that Curly was becoming a problem for the nursing staff at the facility because of his mental deterioration. They admitted they could no longer care for him and suggested he be placed in a mental hospital. Moe refused and relocated him to the Baldy View Sanitarium in San Gabriel, California. In January of 1952, Moe was contacted on the Columbia set to help move Curly for what would be the last time. 11 days later, on January 18th, Curly died at 48. He was given a Jewish funeral and laid to rest at Home of Peace Cemetery in East Los Angeles.